Hello, welcome back to the next video. So today we're going to look into editor utilities, and we're going to use this to help us solve a problem. So this problem that we may face is, let's say we have an obstruction technology or some kind of real-time reverb, or just some kind of ray trace behaving method that needs expected world properties. So what I mean by that is, let's assume that our system fires a trace on a channel called audio. Now, why would you do that? So just for an example, this planting rack here, if I was to shine a torch on this, I would expect it to cast a shadow, but I may not expect it to block sound, because sound can travel through this. Again, this pizza box, if I was to cast a torch on there and it was dark in the room, I would expect it to project a shadow on the wall behind it. However, if I'm a sound ray tracing out, I don't want this plastic pizza mesh cardboard pizza mesh to block my sound. So with that in mind, we need to think about the environment, the geometry, the set dressing. This kind of stuff is usually called set dressing. They're here to make the world look pretty, but they just make problems for audio. So let's just say that we need to find a solution to this. Now, one thing that we could do, and I've already gone and made some preparations to this a little bit. So in project settings, we have a tab called Collision in here. Now, I've already created my trace channel called audio. So if you don't have that, go and make one. You can just say new trace channel, call it a name such as audio. And I've also made a preset called ignore audio. When you create this, you may need to close Unreal and restart it again. Sometimes you can just open the collision tab, so you can close off this and open the tab. Sometimes that refreshes some stuff in Unreal, but failing that, if you're not seeing this appear in what we're going to show, then just just close Unreal and reopen it again, and it should appear. So yeah, basically then, so we're going to look through this properties, and let's say the environment team, or maybe you are all the teams, but we're just going to assume there's an environment team. They've probably made some kind of prop, and they've gone into this level and they've added this prop in. Now, if we open the static mesh here, here we go, static mesh. We can see that this has a collision preset called block all. So what does block all do? It blocks all collision channels. So if we want to ignore audio, so we're omitting this channel, I'm just going to do that. So basically all I've done in this preset is say ignore audio. So what does this mean then? We will save now. So what does this mean? If we now line trace, and the line trace goes through this object, it will no longer register a hit result, which is what we want for things like this plate, this little cup. Like these kind of things in the world, we don't really want to include them in audio. And there's a really good example here I can show you. Imagine we have some kind of like I say, real-time thing happening where we need to expect the world to behave in a certain way. If we were looking right here and we were line tracing from our front, we would hit this wall, and we might have a distance of whatever that is, like 400 or 500. If we now move here, and we've only moved like 20 units or so, we're now going to have a hit result of like 50 or something, then back to 200 again. So essentially what that's doing is, in a short space, we're getting drastically different audio data. So what we want instead is to ignore this little plant part. So I'm just going to click that again. We're going to go through this practice again. Let's keep opening in another tab. We're just going to do ignore audio again. And you can see that this is starting to become a tedious exercise. And how do you remember? Let's say you marked up some stuff and then you finished for the day or whatever, and then you come back some other time and you have to think, oh well, where did I get to? Like, I can't remember where I got to. I need to get this work done. And then you kind of go through all the stuff again, and it's just, you are in this constant loop of, you need some help, basically. So this is where EditorUtilities can help you. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an EditorUtility that will basically hide static meshes that have a particular channel on them or preset on them. So let's get started then. So we're going to make a blueprint class. Actually, that's wrong. I think it's EditorUtility here. So we're going to make a widget just for now. Just call it AudioUtility, and this widget is basically widget blueprint. This is going to be our kind of home for other widgets, so other things we could do within the widget. So you can make 10 EditorUtility like scripts, let's say, and house them within this widget with little buttons that you can press, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we've now created this widget and we're going to edit this widget, and it's going to basically be an empty kind of design view with an empty blueprint graph like this. So for now, I'm just going to make this look something like this. For now, it doesn't really matter. And then what we're going to do first of all is going to make a button. Now this button is essentially going to give us a means to have a method of clicking something to run a blueprint script. So I'm going to do that. Just create a little button, and I'm going to drag a text on there. And on this text, we're going to call it hide ignore audio, because we already have a audio channel called ignore audio, sorry, a preset called ignore audio. So we're just going to use this button to run our kind of blueprint logic. So after we've done this, we're going to click the button again, and we're going to use this delegate here. So this onClicked is going to create a little event for us. Now this is where we can basically run stuff within the editor, Unreal editor itself. So within here, we're going to get the editor actor subsystem. And from here, we're going to run a get all level actors. So I'm just looking up there because I've already done this as a little practice in the means of saving time. So we're going to get all level actors. So what this is going to do is it's going to literally get all of every actor that's loaded within the world. And we're going to loop from there. And we are going to get components by class. And we're going to get the primitive component. And then from here, we're going to get collision profile name. And then we're going to compare this, and we're going to say, is this equal to ignore audio? Or this would be whatever your collision preset is called. And then we're going to branch from here. And then we're going to get the root component. And from here, we're going to set visibility to false. Right, so what is this going to do? We're going to click the button. It's going to get all the level actors. It's going to loop over every single one of them. It's going to get for each of them, it's going to get their component by class, which is a primitive component. Now it has to be that, because if we try and get the collision from here, it's not going to give us that collision profile name. We don't have access to it from the actor itself. We have to actually get the primitive component to get this variable. And then we also cannot set visibility on this one because it doesn't work. So we have to get the root component to set visibility. So that's why we're kind of doing different references here to the objects. So now that we have this script made, this will do what we want it to do with this designer view in mind. So now if we just minimize this for a moment, what you can do is you can right click this and say run editor widget. So now it's going to give us a button. What we can do is we can dock this up here, for example. So now this is like, again, this is our little home that we've generated. So now we can do any other buttons in here and just keep them all in this one place. It's like a little house for them all. So this little plant part, I believe we already tagged this up earlier. So now if I click hide ignore audio, they're going to hide from the world outliner now. So we don't see them anymore. So the purpose of this is to help guide us on, we have a problem, we need to mark up certain static meshes in the level. How do we determine what those are? Like, you know, each day that you go to this work, you're going to forget the, you know, the objects you marked up. So this is basically omitting things that we don't need anymore. So again, I'm just going to run this level and explain again what the problem is. So I'm firing a line trace out from this little camera here, and you can see here that if I, you know, I'm looking forwards here, and there's, you know, a distance of 873. I move very slightly, and we now have a distance of 373. So this is basically, in a small rotation, we're going to get different results. Now, if you now imagine that you've got line traces coming from numerous points around you, all having this behavior, your obstruction system or your runtime reverb system or whatever you may have that's, you know, that needs reliable game data is not going to behave the way that you expect it to or you desire it to. So it's only as good as the information it's being fed, and it's someone's job, or maybe some tooling's job, to do this for you. But again, like, we're just assuming that, you know, we don't have access to any kind of other support, so we're doing this for ourselves. So that's cool. So now, and the good thing is about this button as well, we're setting visibility, so it's not doing something called marking dirty. So that's really important, because what marking dirty does is, let's say this armchair, wherever this armchair is, if I move this now and then save all, it's trying to check out this level, because by moving that object, we've changed some details on the object, and now it's asking us to check out that file. Now this object may not be, you may not be allowed to move this. Like, maybe you're working in a development team and you do not want to be moving things around. Anything you do usually would mark it as dirty. Now, because we're doing set visibility only, it's not going through that dirty process. So we're not actually changing that asset or the level that it's in. We're only changing the collision preset name. So we're not, basically, it's a very low risk in this manner that we're doing this work. Okay, so let's add a few more functions in here then. So we're going to open up our utility designer again. I'm just going to copy these buttons. And the reason we're doing this now is because just extra learning, but also these are just probably going to be helpful anyway. So we have a function to hide ignore audio, but we may just want to show them again, just for some reason. We may want to do that. And then we're also going to do a button called show only ignore audio. And then we can just do one called show all, just to basically reset everything essentially. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to click these buttons and we're going to add these events to it so that we can do some things. And again, you can make these swanky, like you can make your show and hide the same logic. For now, we're just going to copy paste for simplicity. But you could do things like have this based on a toggle if you want to do that. So essentially what we've done here is this one sets visibility to false, this one sets it to true. That's pretty much all we're changing there. And then on this one, we are going to, instead of branching there, we're just going to set visibility directly there. So that's only going to, basically, if it has ignore audio collision profile name, it will set it to true because this boolean will be true. If it's false, it will set it to false, which will then hide it. And then lastly, we're going to do this one, which won't even check for that. It will just, in fact, yeah, we don't even need that either. It's just going to set everything to true, which is like your show all default reset. Cool, so let's test these then. So this, we've added the buttons here and it's already like refreshed. So we're going to hide ignore audio. So that's basically hidden our, going to show all again. So yeah, show all, make them appear. We're going to hide ignore audio. We have this button to show ignore audio, so we're bringing them back. This one will show only ignore audio. So this is helpful for us to see, right, what have we tagged up. It might be cool, it might be not, but again, it's just cool fun stuff that we're trying out. And this one will just reset the view. So essentially, yeah, we're using this kind of utility widget to help us mark up the level. And here's another example where, you know, in this tight space, you know, it should work in a manner where our line traces should probably, you know, penetrate through these kind of materials, right? This would be what you call transparent for the line traces to go through. So again, this would be a thing that would mark up with the help of this widget. So yeah, shout out for this level. It's called Big Office. I think I got this on one of those free Unreal days where they give away things for free. But yeah, this is a good example of, you know, a cool space. It's already got stuff laid out in the level. It's a prime example of something like Obstruction having issues working in a level such as this, because there's so much set dressing. So yeah, this was a good little test level to try this on. But yeah, that's it for the video. Again, if anyone's got any questions or anything else you want me to run through, then obviously leave a comment, and yeah, looking forward to doing more of these videos again. So yeah, see you next time.